Hi, everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today, I'm talking about the movie Strange Darling. Before I do get into spoilers, real quick, I do want to say this movie is great. I really enjoyed this movie, and I really recommend you see it, knowing as little as possible. So, if you're in any way interested in watching this movie, I would say go ahead and watch it without seeing anything else about it, and don't watch this review anymore. Moving on from there, this is going to be a spoiler review, so I'm going to be talking about spoilers. So if you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go and watch the movie first before you watch this review. Again, I would suggest you go ahead and just don't watch this. You go ahead and watch the movie first. Strange Darling is set in rural Oregon. It focuses on a man and a woman who engage in a one-night stand that ends up sort of devolving into a serial killer's murder spree, or gets involved with that at least. It's divided into 6 narrative chapters that go in nonlinear order, and it's presented as a dramatization of serial killers, year-long murder spree in like Oregon in the Western United States. As far as what I liked of this movie, I thought the cast was great. I really liked Willa Fitzgerald as the lady. I knew her from the Reacher TV show. She was in the first season of that, and she's actually on a show called Alpha House that I just started watching. That was on Amazon Prime from like 10 years ago, but she was good in that too. So I saw her, and Kyle Gallner. I really like him as well. I like him in Dinner in America. So as soon as I saw that he was in this and she was in this, I was like, great, I'll see this. No questions asked. I didn't watch the trailer or anything. All I had seen was just an ad with like this image and a Stephen King quote about how it was good or something, and that's about it. So yeah, they're great. We also got Barbara Hershey in here and Ed Begley Jr. as this sort of couple that lives out in the woods or whatever. They're great as well. I always like Ed Begley Jr. He's great to see, and that's pretty much most of it. There's a couple other people. There's like a nurse, Bianca Santos. She's great. Stephen Makazada as Pete, and Sherry Foster as the driver. Yeah, did I get them all? Oh, Genevieve. Oh, either way. Yeah, there's a couple other people in here. There's another cop. I don't know if I got all their names, but they're great. There's also a couple of people I didn't recognize, like Jason Patrick is actually the true crime narrator, and Giovanni Ribisi does a voice too. Art Pallone. Cool. Speaking of which, Giovanni Ribisi also shot this. He was the cinematographer for this. Which is interesting because he's an actor. He's mostly known for acting, but yeah, he did this before. He has done a couple other music videos for someone called Jonesy, who I'm not familiar with, and a Beck music video. So he's done a couple things, but this is his first movie, and I think the cinematography is really well done. It's really impressive and really well shot. It looks great, and it was all shot on 35 millimeter film, which is pretty cool as well. And and again, the performances are great. I went in this knowing that I liked Kyle Gallner a lot and expecting a good performance out of him, and he was great. But Willa Fitzgerald really stole the show. She was amazing in this, and she had a lot to do, of course. But she was. I was really won over by her performance by the end. It was amazing. It was really, really good. I really liked this movie a lot. I like the music in this as well. It was by Craig DeLeon. He did the Fatal Attraction TV show. Sorry. He did Fatal Attraction TV show. He also worked on like the Velma TV show, which is kind of interesting. And A Man in Full. I haven't watched any of those, so I don't know. But I like the music in this, and I also like the soundtrack. It was all done by a woman named Z Berg, who's from a pop group called The Like. I'm not familiar with them at all, but the couple songs that stood out for me were "Strange Darling" and "Better the Devil." I liked both those songs, and then there's a cover of "Love Hurts" by Keith Carradine, which fine song. I liked it, and it works for the movie. I think they used it well in the movie. I really like the chase scene at the beginning, sort of the opening of the movie, or right after the credits there. It's a really cool chase scene. It was really fun. I love the Pinto and the big Chevy truck I think he had. And seeing him, pull out the gun and shoot her and everything, that was good. It was really well shot. It was very kinetic and sort of exciting, and I really enjoyed that a lot. I really liked the cinematography, like I said, throughout. There's some scenes in the woods that I was really impressed with, just the way they looked. I thought they were really well sort of lit, and everything looked really well. I don't know if it was just natural lighting or if I assume they had used lights for that, but it looked really good. And throughout, I think all the cinematography, there's some really cool shot choices. Everything looked really great. I really like the lighting, like I said. I think the set design was pretty cool too. I was impressed with the Ed Begley's house. I thought it might have just been somebody's house. At least that's what it looked like to me. And I really enjoyed it. There's some fun stuff there, some little weird things like the Scott Baio puzzle and all that kind of stuff. I think the thing I liked the most about this movie was just really unexpected. I didn't know where it was going to go ever, and in a good way, in a way where I was like, I don't understand why is this happening, but I was engaged, and I really enjoyed it. And I think as much as I often complain about nonlinear storytelling, I think in this case it actually worked really well for me. I really like the nonlinear storytelling that they used, and I think it enhanced the story because not knowing what was going on, not understanding it, and sort of started to suspect some stuff and come up with my own theories, but eventually being like, oh, okay, no, like this is not what I expect. That was cool. Like I said, there's some really funny stuff, the Scott Baio puzzle and all that stuff. Mostly the stuff with Ed Begley Jr., I think. But the breakfast scene where he's just making this insane breakfast with like a full stick of butter, and then he adds like more butter to it, and then all this like jelly or whatever, and that was just really ridiculous and funny. I like the use of colors. There's a lot of like red and black throughout. Like she's wearing a black bra and red underwear, and she's got a red Pinto. He's got a black truck. He's wearing a red and black like checkered jacket, I think. Like there's a lot of that, and there's also like the whole blue light scene, which was pretty cool, and I really enjoyed that. It was just well done and looked really cool, and just I kind of really set the scene and kind of made the mood for the movie, and I really enjoyed that. I also like that the movie didn't have a lot of exposition. Not there's not a lot of stuff explained about what's going on or why it's happening or what's they don't go into like the backstory of the serial killer or any of that kind of stuff, and I really appreciated that. And I really like the movie had sort of a grindhouse kind of feel. It reminded me of like the old movies from like the 70s, those kind of like dirty, gross kind of, cheap kind of movies that I really enjoyed that stuff. So that was really fun. Like I said, it just kept my interest thoroughly engaged throughout. I was just the entire time going like, okay, what's happening? What's happening next? How's why is she doing this? What is she going to do next? Like, and it's one of those too where again, spoilers here, total spoilers. It turns out that she is the one who's the killer. And so it recontextualizes all the stuff you see in the movie once you realize that. And yeah, that was just really fun. And I somewhat started to expect it at some point. I actually, at some point, thought maybe it was just they were really getting into the weird sex thing, and it was just like this crazy level of intensity where she wanted him to do this kind of thing, and I was expecting her at some point to just like say Mr. Snuffleupagus and him to stop, and then them just like to make out or something crazy like that. But yeah, so I really enjoyed that, and I really like the ending. You could it just basically ends on her just, again, spoilers, just dying, just slowly dying, and it's this very like kind of ugly kind of death where she's just kind of gasping for air and kind of reaching for something. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked all of it really throughout. I really liked this movie. It was really fun. A couple things I didn't like about it though. I appreciate it was shot on 35 millimeter, but I thought it was a little weird that they like felt the need to tell you that at the beginning. And I don't know. I don't think I would have noticed honestly if they didn't say it, but also like I don't think most people care. So like, I don't know. Like it's cool. And if anything, it just made me think like, oh, well, so they spent a lot of money on film that they could have saved by shooting it digitally. And it does feel like in some ways it was written by a man, just because like she's always calling people man, which is something, some women do, I'm sure, and it happens. But and then she refers to the woman cop as a chick cop, which is just a little odd to me because again, some women might do that. I don't know. But even just like the interaction with the male and female cop, which makes sense in the context of the story and everything, and I sort of agree with it. You can also interpret it as like, oh, the guy was right, should have listened to the guy, like dumb women. I don't think they were trying to say that, and I certainly didn't think that, but I think some people could interpret it that way, and so that's just, I mean, there is some like overly indulgent of the kind of long art house kind of shots, like the opening kind of worked for me because it was engaging enough. And, as she got closer, I realized like, oh, her ear is bleeding. Like what happened to her head? Like what happened to her face? Like, so that worked for me, but there was a couple shots where I'm like, all right, you could have cut this a little bit shorter. I didn't need to hang on this, this whatever field for that long or whatever. And again, that's just me. And I did notice that the handle on the freezer looked like it was brand new. It looked like it wasn't even supposed to be there. It looked like they just took a piece of metal and bolted it to the freezer because they needed a handle there for the handcuffs. And I noticed it mostly because the bolts were like shiny and brand new looking. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe that's the way that freezer is designed, or it could be possible in the context of the story. They broke it at some point and they had to replace it. And I'm almost surprised the movie didn't do that because they do kind of explain some stuff where he's like, oh yeah, she said we're hippies, but I'm actually a biker. And then, you see the leather jacket and she grabs the leather jacket off the hook and it's like, oh yeah, he was a biker. That makes sense. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Either way, and I do feel like there's again an argument. I don't know why I'm always worried about what other people can say, but there's an argument to be made that like the bad guy with a gun was stopped by a good guy with a gun, and I don't really think they were going for that or anything. But I think again, some people could take it that way, and I don't want to give those people ammunition. I guess I almost kind of wish she would just have randomly got hit by a car or something like that. I feel like most people would hate that and be upset by that, but I would have liked it because this movie is so crazy and unexpected that and I do think the movie is borderline pretentious. I feel like if somebody said this movie was a pretentious art house kind of movie, I would kind of agree with it. And I think if I were my younger self maybe wouldn't appreciate this movie as much as I do now. So yeah, then that movie is written and directed by JT Mollner. His only feature film before this was something called Outlaws and Angels. It was a Western movie with Luke Wilson. Haven't seen it. It didn't get very good reviews though, but it was also shot on 35 millimeter film. So, but not by Giovanni Ribisi. He also did a couple shorts, Sugartown, Flowers in December. They seem to be well received, and I think won some like awards and stuff. So it sounds like he's got some potential here. Budget on this movie is about $4 million. So far, it's made about $1,442,000 on the first day. They're not expecting to make a lot of money on this or anything like that. This is more of a art house kind of film festival type movie. Rotten Tomatoes on this one, yeah, critics are really liking this one. It's at 97% for the critics and 84% for the audience, which I'm a little surprised by. I actually expected the audience to dislike this one because it is a little slow and it's a little different, and people generally maybe don't have as much tolerance for that kind of stuff. But yeah, people seem to like it, so that's good. And I like that. Oh, so apparently it premiered at Fantastic Fest in Austin in September last year. And yeah, like I said, I often complain about nonlinear storytelling. I feel like sometimes if they know their story isn't very interesting, they'll use that as sort of a way to make it more interesting. But in this case, I think it really helped. So they basically go chapter 3, which is Will You Help Me Please? And they show, the whole chase scene and everything and her arriving at the house. And then chapter 5, they jump from 3 to 5 where here Kitty Kitty is shooting, through the boxes and everything. And then they go all the way to chapter 1, which is the scene in the car with the blue light, and they're kind of talking about their one night stand they're about to have. Then we go to chapter 4. So what was it again? It goes 3, 5, 1, 4, 2, 6. Yeah, we introduce, they kind of explain more about Ed Begley. And then they go back to the hotel room where she gives him the ketamine. We finally get revealed that, she is a serial killer and she's carving her initials into his chest and everything. We go back to finally the house. She explains her whole Gary Gilmore thing. And yeah, and then we get the prologue. So that was fun. I really enjoyed that. I really liked the movie. I thought it was good. Apparently, the next thing the director's got coming up is an adaptation of the Stephen King short story, The Long Walk. So we'll see if that actually happens. Of course, they make everything Stephen King did into movies. But yeah, I like that story. I read it a while back. So I really like this movie, though. I went into it not really knowing what to expect and being a little concerned at the beginning, with all the long shots and everything. And I didn't even notice Giovanni Ribisi shot it at all, which is weird. He's mostly known for acting. But yeah, I really, really like this movie. I think it's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. But if you saw the movie, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night, and I will see you here again next week.